This is our last video for Minesweeper. We've been working through parts of the game. We have a game that looks pretty much like the working version. We have these bombs actually just shown as red squares, and we'll deal with that and make those go away. But for kind of working on the game, it's kind of useful to know where they are. But and we have working code for the kind of recursive search. So I clicked on this upper left square here, and it opened up this area. It put in the numbers. They're not actually very easy to read. They're kind of bright. That should have probably been made a little darker at some point. So down here for our label, I'll just make it a black number. And we need to the missing feature, I think, really is just determining, allowing the user to flag the positions in the grid where they think the bomb is, and ending the game if they click on the bomb without it being flagged, and ending the game as as a lost game, but ending the game as a won game if they've flagged all of the bombs that are there. So I think that's really the only features that I'll finish in the videos, and then all the additional features like some kind of timer, or that in the game that Windows had, or the emulators online, the happy face, any of the other features that you want to incorporate, changing the grid, different levels, all of those types of things. You can look at incorporating yourself. So we'll focus on, let's just focus on to begin flagging the bomb. So if you remember how we're maintaining all the state for the different tiles, we have these properties that are within the tile class, and I think we need one that will show that it was flagged. So it will be starting off as not flagged, and at some point we'll allow the user to flag it. And in the real game, you do some kind of click. I guess you do a right click with your you do a right click with your mouse. If you're using a Mac, I guess we'll do a control click. We'll look at processing. We'll look at the reference manual and see how we need to do that. So we'll go to the processing website, and often the case with the processing manual, you'll find that we're in Python, so we'll go to the reference manual here, and I'll just look for mouse press. We're using mouse pressed right now, the function mouse press for executing code when the mouse is clicked, but you'll see here there's a mouse button that we can check. There's a mouse button variable, and here, so their example shows inside of mouse pressed, they check to see if it was mouse button left or mouse button right. So you can do something different if it's the right mouse button. So we can grab that little bit of code and use that some in our mouse press to figure out what we're going to do here. So right now we're just immediately converting our click to a position within the grid, and then we're just initiating a search to kick off the recursive search. And if it was a regular click, and if it was a I guess if it was a regular click, it's a left click, and if it's a right click, then we'll flag it. And by flagging it, we'll simply set the tile, which we'll pull out of the grid at row Y, position column X, and we'll set it as being flagged. So that property that was created up here in the within the class, self.flagged, we'll pull the tile out and we'll set it to true. Assuming they clicked in the grid, and that's something that I should be checking for. And normally in Python you'll see index errors that they weren't showing up before, but you'll probably want to be checking that. So So we pull the tile out and we flag it as being, we set the Boolean on the flag property to true. And why don't we just trace that a little bit and make sure that we're seeing what we expect to see with this mouse button. So I just have to remember how I do so there's the regular click, the right click, and I don't know if it's going to be, yeah, so it's a control click on the Mac or a right click on your mouse. And it said that it flagged 04, which is the correct index for that bomb. Now, if I were to flag all of these, I should be able to win the game, and that's why seeing them is useful. So it would be worth checking at this point, once you've flagged one, to determine if the user has in fact flagged all of the bombs. And we'll just start with the simplest way of doing that. We'll just loop through all of the tiles in our grid. So we'll do the standard loop. So we do for row and grid, and for column in row, but that's actually going to be our tile. I'll just call it T, and in row. And what I want to do is I want to find out if T is a bomb. So if this is true, I want to know that it's flagged as well. Or I can put that another way. I'm really just looking to see if at any point I have a bomb that isn't flagged. If that's the case, then I know that the game is still on. So if there's a bomb and it's not flagged, then the game is still running. So I probably need some kind of game mode variable at this point, and I would set this. I would find out if. Sorry, I'm just kind of writing this on the fly. So I'm just going to set a variable here, a kind of a flag variable. So I'm going to call it game1, and I'm going to set it to true. So I'm going to assume that they won the game. I'm going to loop through every bomb, and if I find a unflagged variable, then I'm going to say, okay, well, they didn't win this game. Set that to false. Okay, if I come out of the bottom of this loop and game1 is still set to true, then the game is really over at that point. They won it. So I should probably have a larger variable that's controlling my screens, a kind of a game mode variable. We've looked at this in the past with things like Connect 4. The game mode variable, for instance, at the beginning of the game might be showing some kind of title screen. Then the user clicks on the screen and it goes into the game, into the actual game playing mode. And then at some point there's an end point where the game is over and the user's won or lost, and we change the game mode there to some other state. So I would just say that the game is won at this point, and throw up a screen at that point in my draw loop that says that they won. So again, the logic here is I'm using kind of two little kind of modes. I'm using this one as my kind of my checking mode. I'm just setting a Boolean to true. I'm assuming that if I get out of this loop and I still have a true in this flag, then the game really is over. Then I iterate through all of the tiles in the grid, and I'm basically looking for any tile. I'm just looking for a tile that is set to be is not actually flagged. In other words, they haven't finished the game. And in fact, at that point, I really should just break this loop. I found an unflagged bomb, and I know that the game is still happening. I'll leave it this way. There's probably better ways to do this. So I could use a list comprehension. I could probably just set my game mode directly. But I hope this is a fairly clear illustration of this idea. The only missing piece is that this mode variable doesn't exist yet. I need to come up here. I don't want it to be a constant, so I do like it being all caps so that something obvious, but I was using this convention as all caps for constants, so I should probably change that. I'm gonna keep it for now. I don't know why. That's what we're sticking with. I'm gonna probably come back and change this later, but and I need to know what the different modes are, so I just created one there and I called it 1. So so that I'm gonna make a list of them here, and game on could be another one. That's what we'll set it to initially, and so game on, and maybe I'll do it that way. Game on, and if game is on, then inside of my draw loop, I'm gonna draw all of the stuff as needed here, because this is our display screen, our regular game screen. So if it's game on, then draw all of this and do all this game stuff. And if it wasn't game on, for instance, if it's if mode is now 1, then I won't do any of that. I'll just put some text on the screen that says U1. Obviously this is going to be pretty ugly and it needs to be fixed up, but it just gets the mechanics of it working. So let's just run it and see if there's any big errors at this point. So the loop is still running, the main game loop. We're in the game on mode, seems to be working. Now I'll flag some bombs. You don't see anything happening down here. I haven't been doing control clicks. I flagged 1. Oh, I don't know if I think I flagged that one. So this should be the last one I flagged. Nothing happens. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna knock the number of bombs down and just do that again. So something's wrong with my logic there. So let me just try one thing here. Let's just force this into game 1 state and make sure that we see what we expect to see at that point. So it should say U1. Okay, so that's not the problem. We keep this here, and we set it from the mouse pressed, and if I'm forgetting here to do that might have been what there we go. So my mistake there, I forgot that we were using this as a global variable basically, and I definitely don't want it to look like a constant, so I should change that. But so it's a global variable. I didn't mark it as global within mouse pressed. I created it up at the top in the kind of main namespace, and then I tried to modify it down here. Sorry, down here, mouse pressed. Where am I? Mouse pressed. Where's mouse pressed? Here. So so really what I did here is I created a new locally scoped version of mode, and I called it, assigned it the string 1, without indicating that it was global. It was a locally scoped version, so it didn't work. It's working now. Okay, so I'll go back to the number of bombs we had before, and we should expect that this game is looking more or less like the game. Like, you should be able to figure out where these are and control click them. If this was flagged, of course we should have some kind of flag there, and we should also of course end the game if they clicked on a bomb. So So I'll just go back and I'll just finish it just a tiny bit more, but I think most of the main concepts are now incorporated into this code and have been covered through these videos. I mean, it's fairly obvious to see what, I mean, I hope it should be fairly obvious what we're doing within this kind of main draw loop here, and how we would deal with, it's getting kind of long, I know, but how we would deal with this situation of flagging things. So within the draw loop, you know, within our new kind of game on mode, we're doing our main screen here, and draw the game grid. So definitely should be doing more comments as we go along. And so here, you know, I'm drawing the bomb just in a kind of you know, programming kind of way, or debugging, I guess I would say, debugging kind of mode. I want those bombs displayed so it's easier for me to kind of test this stuff out. I could probably, you know, I could probably do something with the keyboard perhaps at this point. Like for instance, if I were to just go down to key pressed at this point and find out whether or not this example is broken. If I wanted to, I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking maybe if I held the shift key down, I would see the bombs, or I guess if I pressed a particular key. You know what, I could just do that. Why don't I just toggle the bombs on and off? I don't need to do any of this. I'm just going to keep going. I I think I might at some point just turn this setting of displaying the bombs for debugging purpose with a key press or something, just to turn it on or off. But I think you can obviously get the idea that what you understand what the game is looking like and why that's there. So this is a visible cell. I think that's obvious from the code, but this is still a hidden cell. We need and they're just being drawn with a rectangle, and we need to draw a flag. For now, I'll just use some text as a flag. Maybe I'll just put an X on it. So if our tile was flagged, then I would just text onto it, just like I did text the label. Maybe I would text an X, and then of course you go back and you replace this with something better. Little flag icon, you draw a flag, whatever you need to do. And I've somehow mixed up the indenting. How did I do that? If tile.label, sorry, what did I do? I deleted that somehow by accident. It was this, except it had the I think I called it label. Yeah. Okay, so control click the bomb, and I should have an X on it. I should definitely give it a color of some kind. Might have been, it was still set to a fill of somehow I know without doing any clicks that this is a bomb and this is a bomb. Very good at this game. I have some kind of ESP. So okay, so that's flagging them, and really I would just turn them off now at this point. I'm actually really bad at the game, so that's why I'm leaving this on as long as possible. But and of course, at some point when the game is over, we display them. But again, all of these things can be handled in the draw loop, and perhaps this is where we stop this video, because really most of the game is functioning, and those last little bits I think should be doable at this point. So we'll leave it at that. We've got the ability to flag these tiles, let the user flag them. Of course, we can flag tiles that are not bombs, and of course I think in the game you only have a certain number of flags. I would have to check that. because otherwise you would just go flag everything, so that wouldn't work. So there must be something, another condition that needs to be checked there. So there's definitely a few little pieces that are yet to be finished. I think I'll leave those to the users and the students to finish for their assignments. I hope that I've covered enough bits that all of those pieces are still quite doable from the examples that have been given so far, and in class we'll deal with questions and see if there's any other problems that we need to deal with. So thanks for watching these videos. I hope you can get some Minesweeper done at this point, and we'll end it there.